Email marketing is one of the most effective and lucrative ways to connect with your audience, but increasing your email marketing efforts alongside all your other priorities is a lot of work. Keep listening to find out how to use your existing content to jumpstart growing your email list. You're listening to the Content 10x podcast, where it's all about content repurposing. I'm Amy Woods, and I'm here to help you maximize your content and find smart ways to get your message in front of more of the right people, whilst also saving time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Content 10x podcast. I'm your host, Amy Woods, founder of Content 10x, and today I'm talking all about how to grow your email list and how repurposing your content can help you do that. Now, in terms of dollars spent, the ROI for email marketing is just incredible. HubSpot says that for every $1 spent on email marketing, it returns a whopping $42. So that's more than 4,000% ROI, and it's not slowing down. In fact, according to research done by Statista, global email marketing will be worth a phenomenal $17.9 billion in 2027. That's 10 billion more than its 2020 valuation. So these stats prove that spending time growing your email list is definitely worthwhile. But when you and your team have so much else to do, designing a new email campaign completely from scratch to grow your email list is not always on the to-do list. So how about repurposing your existing content into an email lead capture campaign? Now, I'm guessing you already have an email list and you probably send your subscribers regular emails, and you might get some steady growth here and there, but maybe you've also noticed that you've plateaued a bit when it comes to growing your email list. So to jumpstart more growth, you need to do something a little different. So keep listening to 3 ways that you can grow your email list and how repurposing your content will help. The first step that you're going to want to take is to get to grips with your email marketing software, because running an email campaign is actually very easy once it's all set up, but you need to work out how to make your software work for you. There are loads of different email marketing software out there. MailChimp is an extremely popular option, especially for businesses that are maybe just getting started with email marketing. And then there's more advanced software like ActiveCampaign, Klaviyo, Campaign Monitor, ConvertKit, Aweber. I could go on, especially as there are so many CRM and CMS platforms that have email campaign functionality too. For all our email marketing at Content 10x, we use ActiveCampaign, which is a marketing and sales automation software with email campaign functionality built into it as well. So we really like ActiveCampaign here at Content 10x. Now, what you want to understand about your software is how to run an automated campaign. Now, when it comes to content and repurposing, there are some automations that you should definitely run a mile from, but that's not the case with email automation, because automating your email marketing campaigns means you can front load all of the work. It's a real dream marketing scenario when it works well. And what this means is once your emails are all ready to go, you can plug all the content into the system, set the timings for when emails will send, and it will run itself. All people need to do is sign up and your automated campaign will run for you. And of course, don't forget to test your automated email campaign before you promote it to the world. And if you're emailing people in Europe, you have to make sure that you comply with GDPR rules. So this means many things. So you do need to understand GDPR, but specifically, you have to get express consent to send further emails to people. So people have to opt in. They can't just opt out by not ticking something. They have to take action to opt in to further marketing emails. So just be familiar with the GDPR rules. No matter what kind of content you use for your email campaign, you'll need to work out 2 things. The first is actually the endpoint that you want your audience to get to. So if they've signed up to receive some content that forms part of a campaign, What action do you want them to take at the end? Is it sign up to a demo? Is it book a call? Knowing where you want your new subscribers to end up can really help you choose the content that you want to give away and how to craft it too. Because everything needs to be aligned. That's why we call it a funnel. People need to move through it. So if you ultimately want people to, let's say for example, try your video editing software, then your email capture lead magnet could be a free guide to a really specific type of video editing. For example, how to make a recent TikTok trending video. And then you have some more useful emails following up, providing more video editing tips. And then you ask people to try your free trial of your editing software. This is far better than a lead magnet that's about something unrelated to the video editing software. So let's say that people sign up for a comparison guide to microphones in the marketplace. Then further down the line of the email campaign, they're ultimately asked to try your video editing software. That's not going to be as effective because it's just not as related. Now, the other thing that you'll need is a powerful welcome email, because it's one thing to get people to sign up to your email list, but it's another to get them to actually pay attention. So think about what you've promised they will get by signing up and consider that first email a giant hook to keep them opening and reading all the emails that come afterwards as well. So you want them to be interested, you want them to read versus just immediately unsubscribe. Now let's talk about the kinds of email campaigns with a little bit of help from content repurposing that you can run, which will help you build your email list. The first type is a course delivered by email. If you have how-to blog posts or tutorial videos, then these are brilliant for repurposing into easy-to-consume course content. Now, a course can basically be any content that comes in steps and ends in a result for the participant. So it's a roadmap from A to B. And here the onus is on you to guide your audience through a process, one step or email at a time, and increase their knowledge. So take a look at your most popular tutorial videos or step-by-step blog posts and consider which of these would work best in a course-like format. So you'll decide what you want your course to be. For example, a course for me could be how to develop a weekly repurposing machine for your podcast. And I've probably already created a piece of content for every step before. So I just need to identify the best content that I already have and put that in my course. And I can work out the order to share it in and any tweaks that I need to make. And each email will be one step or one module of the course. So step 1 becomes email 1, step 2, email 2, and so on. And the key thing here is to make sure that each step takes the recipient from A to B, but the entire email sequence takes them from A to Z, which is the promise of the course. And as I said before, the first email has to hook the reader, but each email has to equally show tangible progress, because the reader might otherwise lose interest and drop out of this email course. Now, if you're repurposing written content like blog posts, then consider how you can make each portion, or in this case lesson, email friendly. So make sure each step fully stands alone, has all the relevant links to any further content that might give the reader more value, and uses typical email tropes like personalization and white space, easy to read, and so on. If you're repurposing a video, you could chop the video up into the relevant segments for each email and then add them as links to each email or embed the videos into the emails. Or maybe you're delivering an audio course by email and you've handpicked from your podcast each segment of audio that becomes each lesson in your email course. So that's number 1. You can create a course from the existing content that you deliver email by email that has a great promise that your audience will love. Hey, just a little break from this week's episode to let you know about becoming a Content 10x Insider. If you want more content repurposing tips and advice, then why not join hundreds of business owners, marketers and content creators who get them delivered straight to their inbox once a week by subscribing to the Content 10x newsletter. As well as tips and advice, you get industry updates, inspiring stories, exclusive content, offers and more. You can subscribe at content10x.com/newsletter and there's a link in the show notes too. Okay, back to this week's episode. The next type of email campaign you could repurpose your content into is a challenge. Now, people love being set a challenge. It gets that competitive spirit going and gives them something to aim for. And a challenge is relatively similar to a course, but here the onus is on the person to do the work. Your content is simply empowering them to do something differently, and you have to provide value with every email within the challenge. So for example, in my case, a challenge could be some sort of daily repurposing challenge. So it could be something like repurpose a video or a blog post into something new every day for 30 days. Or it could be something like 10 pieces of content in 10 days, which would be a podcast repurposing challenge. So I guess in terms of a distinction, the course might be more about learning over time, whereas the challenge is learning and implementation too, with the focus on implementation. The best way to repurpose your content into a challenge is to find out what your audience struggle with the most and which pieces of your content help them change that, so help address those struggles. You might have inspirational or guiding content that speak to a specific skill or trait that your audience want to develop. You could even ask your audience on social media what they want your help with. The next step is to map out their journey using your current content. So you might bring multiple pieces of content together in this campaign. One day you could send a blog post, the next link to a video, the next link to a podcast episode, and so on. So for example, if it was me doing a 10 pieces of content in 10 days podcast repurpose challenge, I've certainly done more than 10 pieces of content on how to repurpose a podcast. I know that I have that content. So I need to find out what I have and what would make sense to form part of this challenge, and any extra guidance that I could also add to this challenge as well. And when you've decided the content that's going to go into the challenge, you need to really make sure that you send it out in an order that makes sense to the audience and helps them work towards their goal. And just like with the course style campaign, when your audience get to the final email, if they followed along and your emails have helped them achieve something, they're going to have a brilliant feeling about you and your ability to help them, and be more likely to take your advice in the future, or right now in that final email in the email campaign where perhaps you have a relevant call to action. Now, if an email challenge sounds like something you want to do, I encourage you to go back and listen to episode 41 of the Content 10x podcast. It's an oldie, but it's still really relevant. I dedicated the full episode to repurposing your content into a list building initiative. It's called How to Run an Email List Building Challenge by Repurposing Your Content, and it's at content10x.com/41. Okay, now here's one final idea for an email campaign to grow your email list, and it's to promise to send your audience on other platforms some high value content to them, which will complement the content that they already like on the platforms that they already follow you on. So it's making use of companion content for email list building. So here what I'm saying is create content that you don't normally just give away and repurpose it into content delivered by email. So for example, if you have a guest interview show, it could be a video show or a live stream or a podcast, you could record exclusive aspects of the interview that you only share with email subscribers, and therefore you'll always mention in the episodes how people can get this extra premium content, but they don't pay for it. It's just premium in that they provide their email address and it is emailed to them. Or maybe you repurpose your content into a content upgrade, whereby people only get the upgrade by providing their email address. So create a handy checklist or an infographic or a template, whatever is suitable for the episode content, because people love a content upgrade. It directly helps them get more value from the topic that they already like if they've consumed this content anyway, and there's an upgrade that helps them perhaps solve the problem even further, or it's just something really simple and straightforward like a checklist or a swipe file or a template that they can use, then they're really likely to to want it, and they'll give you their email address in exchange for this content upgrade. Alright, so there are my 3 ideas for repurposing your content to help you grow your email list. So you can repurpose your content into a course and deliver that by email, into an email challenge, or obtain email addresses from your audience on other platforms with content upgrades and companion content that is delivered by email. And of course, you can do all 3. Now here's one last bonus tip to help you grow your email list, and it's about rethinking your regular weekly content. So I've been building my email list since I started Content 10X nearly 5 years ago, and we've put out a newspaper every week, and the concept was pretty much the same for a very long while really. The email included a summary of my latest podcast episode and some other information related to content repurposing, and we did, to be honest, very little to promote our newsletter outside of the website. We were following the classic approach of really just trying to grow our email list through lead magnets only. But last year, we decided to shake things up a bit and really improve and revamp our newsletter, the Content 10X Insider. So we made it a lot more valuable. We have the podcast summary and information about recent content, but we also include a top repurposing tip and the content repurposing story of the week and industry and Content 10X news. And we started promoting it on our social channels. So standalone, just telling people about our newsletter, the Content 10X Insider. And would you believe it, but we had a huge jump in subscribers. And in fact, every time we put out a social post about the newsletter, we get new subscribers. And we repurpose, repeat and repost all the promotional social content every few months. And we also started adding in information about the Content 10X Insider newsletter into our podcast as well, either as a mid-roll or mentioning at the end of the podcast. I should mention it right now, so if you want to get our great weekly emails, then head to content10x.com/newsletter. So that's another way to make sure you are growing your email list, and it's a no-brainer if you don't have time to put together big full campaigns. But believe me when I say that these email campaigns do get huge results, and I really hope this episode has inspired you to look at the content you have and how you can repurpose that to develop some really fantastic email campaigns that will add value to your audience and help you get those all-important email addresses so that you can nurture and grow your email list. Okay, so thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Content 10X podcast. I really do appreciate it. If you want any help with your content repurposing, then we offer a fully done-for-you end-to-end content repurposing service for video creators, podcasters, event organisers and speakers. So if you have video content, then we can repurpose it. So do get in touch. Head to content10x.com/services. All that's left to say is thank you so much for listening to this week's episode, and I will catch you in the next one.